Oh, hey, what's up, guys? So I have finally finished Hunter x Hunter, the manga series. It's not done, but the author has been on hiatus for like around a year or so. So this will most likely be coming to an end at least for a good while before the author uh, reboots the series, and I will be so happy. I would gladly do week by week reviews of the chapters if that happens. But at the same time, I'm glad. It's good to finally take a break from this. I mean, it's kind of like a thing where it's like it's so good at times that you can't put it down, and then on the other half of the spectrum, it's like there's a lot of boring chapters, and you just can't really put it down, and it's so tedious, and it's almost like hard work. And so I'm glad this is over in one way. Anyhow, this is going to be a strict review of chapter 340. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff to talk about. In fact, I probably will forget some of it just because of the sheer amount. I mean, despite me forgetting most of it, might turn into a 40-minute video again, but a lot to extrapolate on. And so, first and final, no spoiler alert warning. I mean, excuse me, spoiler alert warning. So I'm assuming you've read it or don't mind it being spoiled. And I haven't read 340.5 or 340.6, but from what I've been told, they are just sort of like special non-canon chapters. Anyhow, first things first. This guy, Beyond Notaro. First, I was like, this has to be this potentially is an imposter, but based on what the Zodiacs have said, this has to be legitimately his son because of apparently his mannerisms exactly match those of Notaro, and the general vibe is that it's just something you can't really explain, but they sense that this is Notaro's son based on how he behaves. And on top of that, we don't know too much, but there is that sort of dark presence that might be saying that this guy is bad. His name's Beyond Notaro. His first name's Beyond, and that's just the English translation. But regardless, this guy just seems kind of evil in a way, sort of like a stupid kind of evil. Like he's stupid but evil at the same time. He's not that smart, intellectual, or honorable evil that the Ant King had. And you can see this from the panel where his subordinate was going about explaining the details of the procedure, and he was just like, "Shut up! You're annoying me with your big words." And personally, the whole foreboding thing about how Notaro had hidden a second disc message video to give to the Zodiacs in the case that his son did appear, or it was worded, if someone who claimed to be my son appeared, then he played the disc. Well, that concept, it really sort of forebodes, what's the term? It's a sort of foreboding or a foreshadowing of the idea that maybe this guy is evil. I mean, it's very key the way it was worded. It was worded, if someone claiming to be my son, not if my son appears one day. So I do think that there's some sort of dark intentions going on, and it was also mentioned in this chapter that the Notaro has never mentioned any sort of family ties and has said that he has no family relations with anyone. So that's a little mysterious as of itself. Even Jing, as we've seen, according to the crowd during the election, he at least lets people know, or for some reason everyone knows that he has a son. Notaro, never until this moment. And so I'm assuming this is his son, but maybe this guy's not as it seems. and based on his age, it seems like this guy might have a son of his own. So who knows what's going on there? Which brings me to Killua. You know how Killua has this whole family, and there's so many members, which we all know of. Well, I believe the first time it was introduced, it was mentioned that the great grandfather is still alive, and so this guy has not ever been introduced since that mentioning. But maybe this guy's even stronger than the grandpa, who's technically, I believe, the strongest so far of the Zodiac family, or however you pronounce it, that last name. And that's very interesting. But here's another interesting thing. Jing and the other guy, the Rat Zodiac, they are both resigning from the Zodiac family. And first off, the Rat guy, the guy who's apparently supposed to be the Rat um, representative of the Zodiacs, the blonde-haired guy who won the election, he I just feel like he has some sort of ill intentions, but at the same time, he has that sort of not, I wouldn't call it naive, but sort of uh, I have dark intentions, but I'm never going to reveal that. I will put up this sort of naive, innocent sort of vibe. And we've seen that throughout the election arc. I mean, he just constantly put up this vibe of sort of I'm very naive, and I'm looking out for everyone's best interest. But it was blatantly clear to everyone, at least not everyone, but some of the Zodiacs, including Cheeto, that this guy is just, he has sort of, he's very, very smart, manipulative, and possibly having dark intentions behind him. So I don't know what's up with that, but Jing, obviously, he wants to go to the new world. This guy does too, and apparently Beyond Notaro is going there too, and they all seem to just want to go. Apparently, it was mentioned that the regulations and procedure, despite like brute forcing it and trying to speed it up, it would still take years, even if they got like a special sort of process to make it through. And on top of that, their application might be rejected after that many years, and if they went, it would just be a sort of sightseeing tour where they'd be constantly monitored. And so obviously they're not going to regard that, and they're just going to brute force it. And at this moment, I want to give us a Toriko spoiler alert warning, but I liken this a lot to Toriko and the whole thing with the gourmet world and the human world. And the last scene was just very reminiscent of that. I don't know if there was copying done from one of the creators, but you see Notaro and his entire crew, which all seem to be very powerful individuals. They're all gathered around the table, and he's discussing, we are going to this outer world, just like in Toriko. This sort of strange dark world with mythical, high level, powerful creatures. And my question goes to, why is it so dangerous? Why do they need so much clearance? And based on the knowledge or the info given in the series, it's because of simply history. History has told that each time they tried going outside, the disaster befell them. We don't know what type of disaster. Maybe they ran into creatures that came back into the human world and destroyed a lot of it. And so I mentioned the differences and similarities between that and Toriko in my last video on Hunter x Hunter, but again, it's very, very interesting to say the least, and very, very, very cool. And so at the same time, I'm thinking, what is going on here? Like, what exactly is going on with all of this? Because beyond, first off, I feel like in a lot of Japanese manga, they sort of choose, like, a lot of the English translated names or whatever, it seems to be intentional. So the Japanese manga, they actually incorporate a lot of English words and stuff into like the entire series as a whole. Maybe not Hunter x Hunter, but Bleach, I mean, there's definite stuff that is definitely English. I mean, again, spoiler alert for Bleach, but there's a lot of stuff regarding the Vanderreichen, or whatever you call those people, that have a lot of Greek, I mean not Greek, German roots with their numbering system and lettering system. I mean, that's all non-Japanese, and so maybe Beyond was a intentional name, or English name for this character. Regardless, that brings us to our final point, which is that Jing himself has had the same intentions since birth, which has been revealed, and that is to go to the outside world. And yet he himself, being so powerful, has still yet to complete clearance in order to get there. And on top of that, it seems like he is just like he's just taking his time with it. He mentioned like it doesn't matter if it will take a long time. I'm just going to enjoy the process so I can one day achieve my goal of going to the outside world. And it really feels like, again, it likens to the Toriko universe. Who knows who copied who? Maybe none of them copied none of them. But there's this whole Toriko thing with like things in the human world being so colossal, and then a sort of WTF sort of switch being switched, and the narrator saying, or someone in the story saying, this thing is big, but compared to the outside world, it's very, very small. And that was introduced a couple chapters ago with Jing mentioning to his son that the tree, which was in fact the tallest tree in the human world, was simply a young sort of, I forgot what the tree was called, palm tree or something, young sort of tree that stopped growing early on in its age. And in fact, a fully grown version of that tree exists in the outside world that extends through the clouds and really requires the nutrients of an entire mountain to stand. And so it's just the same sort of vibe going on. And I'm very interested to see what's going to happen once they enter this outside world. And I really think this is a very unique sort of situation, and I don't think anything like it's been done before in manga series. Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, nothing really like this exactly. And I mean, again, spoiler alert to One Piece, but in One Piece, some people would say, oh yeah, it's similar. I mean, you got the old world and the new world, but in these series, Toriko and Hunter x Hunter, it's not like, oh, it's a straight path, old world, new world, and they're about equal size. The new world is obviously harder, much more complicated, but at least for One Piece, once they got into it, it seemed like it didn't seem that hard. But in this one, it seems like here's the human world, and surrounding it is a ridiculous, huge world that's so much bigger, so much more harder just to even survive in. And I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that. And of course, I'm curious to see what is in Notaro's message. Most likely some crazy stuff. Maybe it's like, my prediction's like, this is my true son, or maybe it's like, this is an imposter. But the overall gist is, you have to stop this guy, he's doing bad stuff. Or it might be regardless of the message, I'm pretty sure it's going to encourage the Zodiacs to enter the outside world. Now, how is this going to influence the fandom troop? I mean, we know the troops' intentions are simply always to steal, like, steal merchandise and stuff and artifacts, admire it, and then resell it back. And that might keep them in the human world and keep them away from all this. However, I really think it just seems like the troop will be an everlasting sort of group that will continue along with this chapter. I mean, we see them initially with their own arc, and then they just constantly keep popping up in every single arc since. The Greed Island arc, the Ant arc, and even a little bit in the election arc. Not really, but I mean, Hisoka counts, right? So I think they're going to play a good part in this. Maybe they will venture into the outside world for whatever reason. but I'm very curious to see what happens. And I know, guys, I know, um, I've made like 50 Hunter x Hunter videos in a row, but this one might just be my last one. So I don't know yet if I will be doing a review on the 340.5 and 340.6. They just seem like special chapters, not real chapters. And for those of you wondering why exactly have I not been doing reviews on other manga or other stuff, well, because it's all on hiatus right now. It's been on hiatus, except for Fairy Tail, which I've already done a review on. And so it's very interesting. We'll see what happens. And as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment telling me that you've watched all 17 minutes of this video. That would be very, very cool. I would very appreciate that. And it seems like most people do not. They click away after 1 minute. So it would be very cool to see someone actually doing that. So as always, like, favorite, comment. I'll see you guys later.